There were approximately 3 million tourists visiting India in the year 2020. Between the intricate mausoleums, renowned cuisine, and beautiful landscapes, it's easy to see why the region is a bucket list destination for many. However, behind the lavish experiences and breathtaking views lies a looming threat to India's ecosystems and their inhabitants. Davide, Geneletti, and Dorje Dawa explore the effects tourism has on underdeveloped regions in their respective article, Environmental Impact Assessment of Mountain Tourism in Developing Regions, a study in Ladakh, Indian Himalaya. Geneletti and Dawa focused the research on Ladakh, a mountainous community belonging to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Within this region are 3 mountain ranges, Zanskar, Ladakh, and Karakoram, which are located in the northern section of the Himalayas. This is a high-altitude environment. Both the flora and fauna of the area are characterized by low distribution density. Adaptation to elevation and aridity is vital to these species' survival. There is an enclosed system of wetlands within the region as well, which many residents rely on for their sustenance farming, horticulture, and pastoralism. While tourism can bring economic development and job opportunities to developing regions, the practice is known to contribute directly to environmental degradation. India's protected lands, natural lands, and wetlands are put at risk when exposed to the public as various stressors such as littering, off-trail walking and driving, camping, and trail usage negatively impact water, soil, vegetation, and wildlife. The goal of this study is to support the intervention of mitigation for these various problems, while also revisiting the development of acceptable policies regarding tourism. Geneletti and Dawa found that mountain communities are vulnerable to exploitation. As mountains typically lay close to or on top of international borders and boundary lines, it can be difficult to implement policies, as jurisdiction may be unknown or heavily debated. In addition, they found these regions to be victims of seasonality, as the short summer season restricts favorable weather, leaving human disturbance to be concentrated around a 2 to 3 month period that so happens to correspond with peak environmental and biological processes. Hiking, river rafting, climbing expeditions, and tours are given while species are mating, migrating, spawning, and growing. These ecosystems are fragile with low resilience, meaning these activities gravely endanger organisms that are already at a disadvantage. The most popular activity for tourists to participate in is hiking. While the act in itself is not exceptionally damaging when done responsibly, the task of preparing these regions for guests includes trail widening, which creates mud during the displacement of the soil, which then has been seen to both compact and erode the ground depending on the circumstance, exposing roots and suffocating various plant life. These roots and plants are then walked on by tourists, effectively decreasing the biodiversity as species are lost. Forest thinning has been observed as another factor threatening the environment as tourists cut trees for firewood. These individuals also have the potential to introduce non-native species to the area unintentionally. Habitat fragmentation as a result of tourist accommodation infrastructure and land use via campsites has divided and pushed local wildlife to regions outside of their historical range, further impeding the likelihood of their survival. Indirectly, tourism brings an increase in traffic, which contributes to noise and air pollution. Waste dumping by visitors results in both surface and groundwater pollution, affecting both the natural community and those farming the land. Poverty is rampant in India, especially in rural communities. Difficulty finding alternative livelihoods, the presence or lack thereof of outdated, incomplete, and poorly applied policies, lack of planning, and limited access to these regions places these individuals in compromised situations where no management and political instability endanger not only the land but the people living off of it, therefore adding a social aspect to the already staggering environmental predicament. The tourist inflow of India is governed by policy and accessibility and can be divided into 3 phases. The first phase has slow and steady characteristics, with peak tourism recorded in 1989 at 25,000 visitors. The second phase is characterized by high fluctuation, with a range from less than 8,000 tourists annually to slightly over 20,000. The decreases in tourism seen in Phase 2 coincided with times of political crisis, while increases occurred with the implementation of Indian domestic tourist policies and improvement of infrastructure. Phase 3 is characterized by exponential growth, with a peak of 50,000 visitors in 2006. India is currently in Phase 2, as the country was a travel hotspot in 2020 and is cooperating with COVID guidelines regarding international flight. Improvements to regulation and administration in these struggling regions may hold the key to repairing the damage inflicted, benefiting local factions and refining the quality of life for native species while offering progressive experiences for tourists. The sheer amount of harm to the environment that could have been prevented or remedied with proper documentation, procedures, and guidance as studied by Geneletti and Dawa links to what we have been learning in regards to the importance of environmental impact assessments and how easily small occurrences can build up to cause catastrophic, irreversible damage when it could have been avoided from the very start.